he wasn't like a stoner dude, but I like to imagine him saying it in like a stoner dude way, even though it didn't happen that way. It makes it funnier in my brain of him being like, what you need to really answer, man, is like, who is Matt? And then you could have a good website. And I was like, who is Matt? Wait, what?
To that Wedding Videographer Summit special podcast number 3.
I'm excited.
I'm very excited about this one.
Yeah, this is a great one.
It's going to be so good because we have our guest of honor who's going to be traveling all the way from the States to come and spend some time with us and our attendees at the summit, Mr. Matt Johnson. How you doing, Matt?
So thrilled, so excited. I've never been to Scotland, so it's going to be an adventure.
Well, we're expecting tropical heat waves.
Please bring the good weather with you.
It's a great time of year.
We're known for a few things, and sadly, the weather is not one of them.
Well, ironically, it actually is.
Well, actually, it is. Really
it's
bad
just
weather.
maybe not for the good point of it, but
Yeah, no,
I think I asked Joe, what's it going to be like? You're like, we don't know.
We
Couldn't tell you.
we genuinely don't know.
Hope it's good. We'll
Yeah.
see.
It's an absolute
no.
lucky bag. Even the weather people on the TV, they make it up as they go along. They
Yeah.
get no idea.
Love that.
Essentially, if you're outside the city, the weather people just put rain because it's probably going to rain at some point that day. So
Chances are, it'll
chances
probably
are.
rain.
I haven't updated that in about 2 months. Still raining? Yeah, okay, it's still raining.
Nah, it's not actually that bad. But to be fair, at the start of April, it should be. Well, it should.
Ironically,
be okay.
I don't really get much rain at my weddings.
Nah,
I bring
neither
the
do I.
sun most of the time. So,
Well, that's because
yeah.
of those flowery shirts. My
But no,
friend.
we're super excited to have you come over to Scotland. As you say, it's your first time in Scotland.
First time.
And yeah, you've been over to the UK before, though, right?
Yes.
Have
yes.
you
Been to
drank
London,
Iron Brew
Been
before?
to Ireland.
Have you drank Iron Brew before?
I don't even know what that is.
Good.
Exciting.
Good. We are going to get you drinking some Iron Brew. So Coca-Cola, here's a fact for you. So Coca-Cola is the #1 soft drink in every single country in the world, bar Scotland.
That's ironic because Bar is who makes Iron Brew.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting, because my wife loves Coca-Cola, so she's going to be like, "What? Where's the Coca-Cola?"
This is
We do
complete
sell it.
opposite of Coca-Cola.
We do sell it.
yeah.
Coca-Cola is #2, but yeah, Iron Brew is the main drink in Scotland for
Yeah.
soft drinks.
So yeah,
I'm
That's-
looking forward to you
Okay.
trying that.
that and a few other things. I'm sure we'll get you trying.
Yeah. Have you had haggis before?
I have not. No, missed out on that.
You're in for a treat. You've had whiskey before though, so but
I know what that is. Yes, I've heard Scotch is very popular, and especially in other parts of the world.
yeah,
So yes.
yeah. So we'll get you. We'll make sure we get a good dram in as well.
Yeah, but for obviously most of people listening to this will know exactly who you are, Matt. But for those who for some reason don't know who you are, what can you tell us about yourself?
Yeah, the typical wedding. For those of you that don't know me, yes, hello, speech. Yeah, I started filming weddings in 2010, so it's been a quick 14, almost. It'll be 15 years in February. There you
Wow.
go, just a decade and a half of this, and in that time, I've really grown. I've learned to love it, and also just find like the story and everything, and really connect with couples, and really like every wedding day is at its core a similar day, right? Like they get ready, they get married, there's a party. But at the same time, like it's the people that make it unique. And so really I've been able to lean into that, and that's been really, really wonderful. And in addition, I 2015 started making some educational videos just to help other people out. And it was literally me and Craig Adams were the only people doing it on YouTube pretty much. And then it was just me doing it. And then Peter McKinnon showed up and started making educational stuff. And then everybody and their mom said, "Oh, I can do camera stuff too on YouTube." And it just sort of blew up from there. So it went from a very small, I could have probably said like 10 to 20 people to now hundreds of thousands of people, that are doing YouTube in different ways. And it's been really cool to see. So
It seems
Yeah,
baffling
still here.
to know that there's a time and place where not many people paying attention to Matt Johnson. Whenever a Matt Johnson video comes out, I'm like, oh yeah, it's cool. Oh, it's already got 50,000 views because I want to see what he's talking about. But yeah, so Peter McKinnon came along, and you were still kind of like just putting out content. So is Peter McKinnon really is Peter McKinnon who we should have got come over.
Yes. I feel like he I don't know if he would have been available.
No,
but
no.
yes.
He's a busy man. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, so I was going to say about the YouTube, like, obviously, when did you kind of start seeing traction with that? Because I think YouTube, it seems to be that you can just be posting content and have your kind of core audience, and then suddenly a video gets out there. What do you remember being like the first video that kind of got you some traction and introduced you to a bunch of new people?
Yeah. The best way I can put it, and I've heard this, I think it was in another podcast, I don't remember which one, but the essential premise is that you have to be willing to toil in 10 years of obscurity before you suddenly have overnight success. And I was like, wow, you did it overnight. And you're like, no, I did this for 10 years. And now I finally figured it out. And so that's true for me as well. I had a YouTube channel I started in 2006, back before Google even, I think they just bought YouTube, basically. And I got in the partner program, which was brand new in 2007. I don't know why they accepted me, but I got into it. And I was making not much money. But I was like, wow, this is crazy. So cool. But I did not really have a theme for my channel. I had no real direction for the videos I was making. It was just like, oh, here's some client videos. Oh, here's a funny video. Oh, here's something that I made. And so it wasn't until really 2015 when one of my friends told me, hey, you're really good at explaining things and like filmmaking things to people. You should start doing some tutorials and things like that. So I made a review of the Sony a7S II, which blew up and got, I think, 50,000 views or something like that in a period of a couple months, which at the time was really, really big. And I was like, oh wow. And that really sort of put me on the map as that goes, and I had people like, oh, I saw that video, and I was like, oh, cool. And so that sort of was the start of that.
Yeah, I mean my former camera was an A7S II, and I remember your video was the one that helped me set up. So
yeah, there you go.
And the same for the A7S III. To be fair, you've done that too. So,
what I meant to ask as well, what did you do before like weddings? What was your background?
So, I was at university for I was doing like business and IT and computer stuff because I was always good with computers, even in like high school and middle school. And I was like, oh, I could probably do stuff like, help people with networking and other things, but I never really knew what I wanted to do. And I've had very good parents that are very encouraging. My dad's always like, you can do whatever you want, son. Put your mind to it. You can do it, which is really great to hear, when you're a kid, but you're also like, I don't know what to do. Like, okay, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And then after a lot of encouragement, of him just, you can do anything. I was like, well, like, my parents bought me like my first camera in 2005, and it was a little Sony point and shoot camera that could only record for 12 minutes. Not like a clip recording time limit, but literally like the memory card would fill up after 12 minutes of standard definition footage. And I only had one memory card. So I had to be very selective there with the things that I filmed. But that was really the sort of the genesis of it, encouragement from my parents. And then, so I was like in school, wasn't sure entirely what I wanted to do. And I was getting closer and closer to graduating. And I sort of discovered weddings. So I'm like, wait a second, I don't need to get a real job. Whoa, hold on. I can just do this and get paid. Cool. Let's do that. Yeah. And so just kept doing it and graduated and just, kept filming and people kept paying me. And I was like, I remember, there's this photographer that I befriended, Alex. He's really nice. And he was like, I remember talking to him at this wedding. We'd met at this wedding. He's like, bro, can you believe we get to do this? Like, this is crazy. We just show up to these parties and get to film them and get paid thousands of dollars. We got to keep this con going, man. Like, this could end at any time. We got to keep this going and make enough money so we can retire. And I'm like, I like that mentality. That's good. Just keep it going. Fake it till you make it. Keep it going. Have a good time, and still working.
Yeah. I mean, I do say that sometimes to a photographer, especially in like the heat of summer when you're doing this sort of festival vibe wedding, and you look around, there's music playing, you've got a hot dog in your hand, you're like, this is great. I love my job. This is so good.
Because if I think back about when, like being in the corporate world, because I was in the corporate world for like 15 years or something like that, like this just feels like cheating. Like,
right?
It just doesn't. Yeah, I think like for the fact, I think Kirsty, my wife as well, she's like, I hate you. Like, why do you love your job so much? I'm like, sorry. Can't help it.
It must be. I wonder, like, obviously, there's some great parts of it, but I think the one thing that a lot of wedding videographers get, it comes with insecurities because you do often kind of look around and see stuff. Like, do you get any sort of insecurities about your own work, or like deadlines and stuff? Like, what is that like for you?
Oh yeah, all the time. Even with YouTube videos, and with YouTube with weddings, it doesn't matter. I'll still show up to a wedding and be like, do I really know what I'm doing here? And then I'm like, oh, I do. Okay, it's all right. But like, there's always a curveball thrown at you, and I find that once you've done weddings for a long time, like many years, there comes a point where you don't get like the normal curveballs thrown at you. You start getting weirder things happen at weddings where you're like, oh, that's new. Like something new breaks, and you're like, oh, I haven't dealt with this before. And it won't be something simple like turn it off and turn it back on. You're like, oh, I need to like really go get a backup thing that I need or something like that. It's always something weird that you never expected that you have to deal with. And so you strike in those edge cases after a while where things get really funky.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that drive to a wedding where you just have this doubt in your mind of going, do I actually know what I'm doing? What am I getting into? And it's because there's not necessarily a plan going into a wedding, because you can't plan for a live event. You don't know what's going to happen. But it takes like 2 or 3 minutes, and you introduce yourself to everyone in the room, and you go, all right, I got it.
I think I sometimes get that at the start of the season, but then it's like once you're a couple of weddings in, you don't have time to think for that anymore, because you just go into full autopilot with it.
Obviously, you mentioned that you get the sort of doubts about YouTube videos. Now, I think most people have seen one of your YouTube videos. Obviously, when we're coming to the summit in April, and we've got a few people speaking about hot topics, we have you doing a presentation, and it's going to be helping people about their YouTube journey. Is that right?
Yeah, that is the plan. Because I find that for weddings especially, we as videographers, it's great to like, we'll go film, we'll put a ton of work into filming, you'll put a ton of work into editing, and then as soon as you hit export on that video, you're like, it's done. Oh, good, it's over. And you just are like, it's finished. And there's a big sigh of relief, but it's really not over. Like now's the time to market. Now's the time to upload the video, get it well titled, well description, good tags, like good thumbnail. There's all these other factors that go into it that a lot of videographers are like, I upload it, I pick a pretty picture, I title it the bride name plus groom name, and that's the video, right? And you're like, this could be so much better for you. Like, do you want people to actually watch this video? You do. You want your future clients to watch this, right? So it may be a bit of tough love. This talk may be like I'm gonna be nice, but I'm also not going to be nice to some people. So
I want to say nasty Matt.
No, I mean, but this is it, and this also goes back, because we joke about this sometimes. He calls it like corporate Danny, like with giving like feedback. The best feedback that you can get is like the critical feedback, because that's how you grow and that's how you learn.
Yes.
So, and that's how you actually get better, because you're not going to, if you sugarcoat everything, people are not going to get the message, So, and from the sounds of it, I probably need that as well, because I have been posting reasonably consistently on YouTube, but I don't do any kind of like talking to camera stuff. It's just all like my films and that. But there's, I don't know, I'm at like 570 subscribers or something like that. It is still growing continually month in, month out. It's quite slow, but I have started to see couples finding me on YouTube, which has only started maybe in the last 8-9 months, maybe, where it has started to come through. So I'm starting to get some traction there, but I think it's still going to require a little bit more work. But that will be super interesting for me to try and capitalize more on that, because it's such a big audience.
Yeah, it's mental, isn't it? If you think all the people kind of freak out over SEO on Google and trying to be like top of Google, and forget that YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, and its speciality is video, which is part of our job title. Like, we have the answers. We don't need to be a typographer, a copywriter, or anything here. We've got the assets to fuel the machine. But a lot of us don't utilize it, myself included. I'm I go through like a 2-month period of posting and then forget about it for 9 months and go, oh man, I've got a whole year's worth of content I could put up here. It's baffling.
Question: are you using any kind of like AI stuff when it comes to like Chat GPT or anything like when it comes to that kind of stuff? Are you leaning on it, or is it just all like organic copy that you're creating for it?
I'm planning on talking some about that too, because I've had some friends that have had great success now going to Chat GPT and telling it, hey, write me a YouTube video description with good SEO, or give me title ideas or stuff like that. And so you're seeing a lot of AI really come to the forefront for stuff like that. And so you have to be careful with it, because if you just use the first thing that AI is recommending to you, then the odds are that somebody else is also getting that same answer. And then it's like, oh, it's just the same video. Okay. But there's a lot of interesting AI tools that are coming out right now, some of which I'm planning on talking about, which will be fun, which can help you with thumbnail idea generation and like title generation, description generation, tags. Because a lot of it comes down to people just don't know what to do. They don't know what to put. It's like, well, I'll just put the couple name and I'll put like the wedding venue and like there's the video, right? And it's like, okay, if you can get some inspiration for how to do something better, that can be really helpful. Yeah. And suddenly it's like, oh, this is making a lot more sense.
Are you a fan of AI? Not a fan of AI?
I think it's going to be a tool like anything else. And anytime there's something new, everybody gets scared of it. And you either have people that are like, this thing sucks, it's horrible, it's going to take all of our jobs, or this thing is super cool and it's going to revolutionize everything. And the answer is always in the middle, right? It's not going to completely blow your mind with everything, but it is going to help out. And so you already see it with AI photo generation, where you can type some text prompt and it'll give you an image. And usually it looks good, but you can tell there's something funky with it. But at the same time, if you use Photoshop and you use its generative AI tools to clean up an image or remove things from it, people can't tell at all. Yeah. And that is super compelling. And so it's, the magical use case isn't really there as much. It's like, okay, it's kind of working right now. But from a practical standpoint, it's like, oh, this is actually really useful in certain cases. So it's in the middle. It's going to be good. It's going to be bad. There'll be stuff that happens. Yeah.
Because as well, on a guess a slightly side note, but like obviously we're seeing on one side seeing the AI kind of like coming through, and then we're also seeing the really raw moment side of things, for instance, from like content creators on the other side, which is starting to also be this other thing at the sidelines. So we just had a guest on last week for our latest pod that's actually just recently sold all their camera gear and is now shooting film weddings on their iPhone, which was a really interesting take on things. Have you tried that at a wedding as one of your YouTube?
I have filmed weddings with an iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
I have not filmed content in that sort of sense with an iPhone, but I do think that is super cool. And it's something that I've seen some videographers complain about, where they're like, they're taking our jobs, or like people only going to want that. But I see it more of as a business opportunity, where if you have a weekend where you don't have a wedding booked, but somebody's like, oh, hey, we want a content creator. Can you go film that? Can you go make like another $1,000, $2,000 doing something like that? Or in addition, as a business, can you offer that as an add-on service where you bring along a third person whose sole job is just to offer social media video clips, and they get them edited right away and it's done. And this is something where you could pay somebody, $500 to come and film a wedding all day? That's a really good paycheck, right? But then you're charging the couple $2,000. That's covering your editing time plus all the other stuff. And the couple's like, wow, this is so cool. We get a whole social media cut. And you're like, yeah, and I get more money. This is great. So I feel like there's some people are against it. And I'm like, this is literally just another job opportunity for you to make more money. Yeah. So let's not complain about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's another thing that couples are interested in. Mm-hmm. It's another thing for you to sell. So it's an opportunity.
Did you say that you've tried actually just like filming a wedding using the phone as well?
Yeah. Yes.
And
yes.
how was your experience?
With the newest iPhones since the 15, with ProRes log and the high quality, I film everything on my phone now with the Blackmagic camera app. Like if I'm doing family videos, anything, I'd do it all with that. because it lets you film in H.265, but still get the ProRes log picture profile that you can then add a LUT to.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like it was shot with a phone. Like, it looks like it was shot with a bigger mirrorless camera, aside from the depth of field, because it doesn't have the over sharpening that you usually get with a phone. And it looks really, really pretty. And you look at it on your phone screen, it looks good. You put it on a computer, and usually once you put your phone footage on a computer, you can tell it was shot on a phone. It looks kind of gritty and weird. Not true anymore with the new iPhones. It is wild. And I'm like, this is like just as good. Like, I'm shocked. I'm like, wow, this is gonna hold up. Like, I found out when my daughter had a Christmas play, filmed the whole thing on my phone, sat on the front row. I was like, I could have brought the big camera, but I didn't need it.
Yeah.
Put a mic on her too. That's what people have been doing lately. I saw some people do it. They're like, put a mic on your kid. So I had like a little DJI mic and put it on her. So it's like a solo of her singing
that's
like
cool.
Christmas
Class.
carols. And it is hilarious. It's so cute. Like, it's adorable. Yeah. So just fun stuff like that. But it's just another way to capture things at even higher quality, which is really great.
And it fits in your pocket. Are you using like any different lenses or anything like that when you're shooting, or are you just using the lens on the camera?
I have a whole box of them over there, like Moment sent me like a whole, like, you want the fisheye, you want the tight, you want all that. And I feel like I don't need that necessarily. Like, the 24mm lens is the best lens on the iPhone here. That's the best one, the main camera. And so lenses can really help with that, because then you're just using that one lens, that one camera, and it's better. But at the same time, you have the telephoto now. I'm like, I want like a 50mm, because you have it's currently like you have like a 24mm and like a 135mm, and I'm like, I need a middle ground there, guys. Give me a 50, give me a 60. I don't care, something like that millimeter, and that'd be really, really great.
Yeah. I think it's B-Script that specialize in that sort of size, but they're anamorphic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been really flirting with the idea, because I think it could be super fun. I just need a couple of practice runs, but it's definitely a new opportunity. The future of filmmaking.
Yeah. So aside from for instance, like the SEO kind of thing and like the titles and stuff, what would you be able to maybe give us some hints at maybe like what is another kind of like, or what you see as maybe like a missed opportunity with most kind of like filmmakers when it comes to YouTube?
Yeah, it's going to come down to how you edit also. So if we have things like your title, thumbnail, description, those are over here.
Yeah.
We'll say that AI is another thing over here, because that's really cool right now, and that's what everybody else talk about. And then the other thing would be just literally like how you're editing your wedding films. And are you editing them in a way that's compelling for a YouTube audience to want to watch? And I get some pushback from that whenever I talk about that, because some people are like, well, like, it's for the couple, right? You got to make them happy. And like, it's not about YouTube and like the audience that's out there. It's about the couple. And you're like, yes, you're correct. The couple is important. They've paid you. They've hired you. At the same time, how did the couple find you? Did they find you because they watched one of your videos on YouTube? Great. Then you need to have a compelling video on YouTube for all of your future clients. Because, spoiler here, from in my experience having filmed weddings for 14 years now, and hopefully for y'all's as well, even if you deliver a relatively crappy video by your standards, the couple's probably going to love it. And how many times have you sent something and you're like, oh gosh, this clip sucked right here, but the couple's like, it's beautiful, oh look, and you're like, this is not the best work that I've done, but they love it because people are selfish, vain individuals, and they love to see themselves on camera. And when else are they going to do it? Okay, so that's just the truth, and it's not a bad thing. You know, I love it because, hey, it's really encouraging to be able to make stuff that people love and that they'll cherish forever. But at the same time, it's easy for us as videographers to get in our heads and be like, I'm great, I'm super good. Then you're like, no, you're really not. Like, you just, the couple's telling you that you're good because you think you're good, but it's really, maybe not.
Yeah.
So a lot of the editing, it's like if you're not editing in a way that people find compelling, that they want to watch, if you're making a wedding video edit, which I've seen so many times where it's literally 40 seconds is the average before you see a person in a wedding film. It will be, oh, look, we have the shoes, and here's the invitations, and here's a fountain at the reception, and we also got a bird in a tree, some empty chairs, and a gazebo. Oh, and here's finally the back of the bride in her dress. Like, it's like, wow, it's been 40 seconds. I finally saw a person. What is this video about? And so if you're going to be editing your videos, try to edit them in a way that is compelling for people to actually want to watch them. And that's going to be helpful to your couples as well as to the YouTube audience. And you have to do that. Otherwise, it's just kind of a boring video.
Yeah. When you said, obviously, people are, interested in themselves on camera. If anyone's ever had like whole movies of themselves when they're younger, right? That stuff is trash to show random strangers. Like, don't invite people around to your house to watch your childhood holiday from 1997. Like, people aren't interested. But for me, oh my God, I love that stuff. That's great. It's me on camera. I love myself. So it's true. And there's not many people that would give you clapback on your films. It's so yeah, editing and that. When you're creating
it's their day, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So
it's super nostalgic to them.
Yeah, and I think we can get in our heads a little bit. I think one, because obviously there's the comparison, because everybody obviously puts out their best work and stuff like that on Instagram. But obviously not everybody's always the best at public speaking, and we know that the speeches and the narrative has a lot to do with how the film's going to turn out, which we as a UK audience always watch the American films and go, oh man, everybody just speaks so well. And then you've got folk from Scotland just being like, oh, you look really braw the day, hen.
My
really
general understanding of the culture is around the world for wedding videos. And this has been pretty accurate so far, is the UK and Europe is like the most reserved, and they're the least out. Like, it's very, hello, we're glad to be here, thank you, I'll smile a little bit. The UK, they're like, I'll wear a pretty hat that's really really big, but I won't actually show much emotion on the day other than a little smile. You go to the US, you get a little more outgoing, kind of middle of the road. And then you go to Australia and everybody's completely drunk at 9 a.m. insane. And so these are the three wedding cultures that you want. And I've always said, man, we can just go to film weddings in Australia. It's so good there.
It's so good.
Yeah, I would love to. All the bottle brushers ones, they look mad,
wild.
don't they?
Absolutely
they look
wild.
so mad. I just don't know how they keep up sometimes. It's hilarious. We'll have more from Matt just after this little break. Let's be real. Delivering your wedding films by USB, that's outdated.
We use VidFlow, the sleekest platform for delivering your wedding films. It makes your couples feel like they've got their own private Netflix.
Plus, with their white labeling service, you can customize everything from the branding to your own custom domain to make it super personal.
Want to wow your clients? Use the code TWVP10 for 10% off any of the pro plans, including the white label service.
Head on over to vidflow.co
and level up your wedding film delivery experience. Let's talk about backlog. Editing piles up fast and it's overwhelming.
That's why we use brideandgroom.video, a wedding film editing service that creates stunning wedding films faster without compromising on quality.
They match your unique style, so you still feel like you've made them. And the process is super simple.
Use the code TWVP75 to get £75 off your first order and try out their service.
Clear your backlog and grow your business. Visit brideandgroom.video today.
Hasta la vista, backlog. So, to humanise our guests a little bit, we like to ask them about a time when you have had your biggest balls up at a wedding. Now, balls up means biggest mistake. So
a time you right balls that up, Matt.
You balls that up completely.
Okay, I have two stories for you actually.
Oh, good.
One of them is very quick, but they both involve the same person, so that's fun.
Oh, wow.
I had a second shooter for a good 4 or 5 years, 6 years almost, who was really great, still a great friend, does fantastic work, but I kind of trained him from nothing. And he had never filmed before, and so I really trained him up, and it was really fun. But I remember that he texted me one day, and this is after he'd stopped filming with me as much. He was filming another wedding, and he's like, "Hey man, I just need to let you know I just pooped my pants at this wedding." And I was like, "What?"
Oh.
And he's like, "Yeah, man, I was on the elevator, just thought it was a fart." And I'm like, that is incredible. I love that story. That's great. So that's story number one for that guy. Story number two is, at least for me and all, biggest fumble mistake issue that I ever had at a wedding was I had been hired by this bride to film her wedding, and she was a video editor. So she's like, "Hey, I'll edit the video. You just film it," which is, hey, great. That's easy, right? Easier work for me. I don't have to edit this thing. Cool. And so I always try to ask, "Hey, what do you care about? What's important to you?" And this was 2011 or so at the time. I've only been filming weddings for like a year and a half, 2 years at this point. And she says, the only thing that I care about is the footage of the groom watching me as I walk down the aisle. Like, I really want to see his face. I was like, no problem. I got that. No sweat. I can definitely do that. But then come the wedding day, I was like, that shot's kind of boring. Like, it's a standard, tripod locked off shot. There's the groom's face, whatever. And I was like, okay, I know that's really important to her, but I don't need to film that. I can delegate that. I'll delegate that to my friend, my good friend who pooped his pants at a wedding a couple years later. And so I told him, hey, can you just make sure you get the groom's face? He's like, oh, I got it, totally. And for that wedding, I also had a third shooter because my roommate at the time was incredibly enthusiastic about filmmaking. And he was like, hey, can I come help you? And I was like, sure, man, here's a camera. Great, go for it. Turns out he ended up filming, I think he used almost every single memory card that we owned before the reception was over because he filmed so much. And we're like, bro, you gotta stop recording. Okay, you just gotta step back. It's not a long wedding day. Wow, we are out of footage. We are out of space. This is not good. I did not bring a laptop to dump footage. So I have 3 shooters on this wedding. Like, you think I'm going to get this shot. It's going to be great, right? So I delegate out the groom getting filmed. I go and set up a fantastic shot of this bride walking down the aisle. I'm following behind her. I got my glide cam at the time, which looked incredible. It might have actually been a Steadicam Merlin, actually. It was like very early gimbals, pre-electronic gimbal. We're going old school.
Manual weights.
So I get this so good, so difficult, horrible, but I loved it. So I get this shot of her walking down the aisle. It looks amazing. Ceremony goes off without a hitch. I get home, copy the footage, and I'm going through like, okay, I just got to make sure I get the shot of him looking at her as she walks down the aisle. Great, no big deal. So I'm going through all this footage, and I get to the ceremony, and I'm like, okay, I got my shot there. She's walking down the aisle. That looks fantastic. And then my roommate who'd been helping us, he'd never filmed a wedding before. So, of course, he didn't know that everybody's going to stand up whenever the bride walks down the aisle. So you immediately have your shot blocked. So his shot's out. And I'm like, well, that's fine because my second shooter, who's been working with me for like 2 years now, he knows what he's doing. He's not going to fail me. I told him to get this shot. So I go in through the footage and I get to the clip. And it's this like perfectly composed shot. Like, it looks gorgeous, right? It's like rule of thirds and all. Like, it's like a side profile shot like this if you're on the video here. And so he's like, it's like this guy, it's the face, and it's like perfectly rule of thirds, like shoulder and face, like looking out, and it's such a good shot. Like, beautifully composed, great white balance, great focus, like everything's perfect, right? And it was not the groom. Yeah. My second shooter was standing there, and he saw a guy standing at the front of the altar, and he's like, that must be the groom. Because I never bothered to confirm with him, like, hey, do you know what the groom looks like? Because you wouldn't think you would need to do that. And it was the best man. Just a beautiful shot of the best man. It looked so good. And I'm like,
that's actually brilliant.
And so if like the best man is standing and he's like perfectly composed, the groomsman's nose is like coming in on the side. Like, it's just his nose and like maybe like his eyeball on the side of his face. And I was like, oh no. Oh no. And so my only saving grace is after like 10 seconds, he kind of stepped forward just a little bit. So it was like the side of his face, but it was still very clearly, he was in the background of this shot. It was clearly not focused on him. And so it's one of those, ceremonies where like the groom stands back further and then he like steps forward a bit. He's back by the officiant. It happens. But I was like, how do you not know? So I'd like call him and yell at him. I'm like, what the heck, dude? Like, it's what, like, and he's like, oh, my bad. Dude, this is the one thing this bride wanted was this moment.
Oh no.
So
How did that conversation go?
I had to own up to that. I got a text from the bride. I was scared, right? I was like, oh no, like, I'm just going to send her the footage. We'll see if she says anything. I got a text from her like a few hours after I sent it. She's like, hey, where's that footage? Yeah. I was like, oh no. So I had to own up to it. And I told her, hey, I'm very, very sorry. I can give you a refund. I'm so sorry. And she's like, no, it's okay. Like, she still paid me and it worked out. She forgave me. But it was like, oh my gosh, this is horrifying.
Yeah.
So, yeah, always make sure that your second shooters know who the groom is.
The worst part is that you know they're getting the footage, so like you can try and do what you can to like get the shots from your third shooter beforehand before everyone's stood up and just kind of zoom in. But yeah, she's gonna see everything.
Yeah.
No, like I'm not editing that thing. She's got all the footage. There it is.
What a nightmare! What a nightmare!
Not in 4K in 1080p at the time. This is it.
Man, that is brutal. That is brutal.
Rough.
Yeah.
Rough times.
Yeah.
Oh man, happens though. Hey, happens to everyone. Well,
does.
maybe know who the groom is,
right.
please.
Yeah, I've definitely not. I've definitely not pooed my pants though.
Not at a wedding.
Not yet. All we can say is not yet. Okay.
No.
As much as you want to say I'll never do it, you don't know that. Okay?
There's a summit
All we
coming
can
up
say
in
is
4
not
months
yet.
that I might take an opportunity, but you never know.
Matt, thank you so much for coming on the pod with us today. Super excited as well to have you coming to Bonnie, Scotland, to talk to us all about what we've discussed today, and can't wait to meet you in person. And I know all of our listeners are feeling the exact same as well. So, for those that are living under a rock and haven't heard of you, would you be able to just let people know where to find you?
Yeah, if you search for Who is Matt, pretty much anywhere on the internet, that's me. If you search for Where is Matt, that's a different guy who dances in different countries around the world. So not me, but I got the who locked down. I don't have the where.
Have you met What is Matt yet?
I don't have What is Matt. I think I did like Instagram with like which Who is Matt are you and had all these different faces of me. So I got which. I don't have how. I'm working on it. We got a lot of adjectives to cover here. So yeah.
Where did Who is Matt come from?
Yeah, I was just going to ask that.
I needed a website name in 2007, 2008, I want to say. And I was trying to come up with a name because mattjohnson.com was taken. And
thank God.
I'm still I'm telling you. But like, what upsets me is that I still hold that one of the best websites on the internet is this guy, Matt Mullenweg, who started WordPress. And he has the website ma.tt, which is just fantastic. But he got it in like early 2000s, and he had to TT is Trinidad and Tobago, their country, and so he had to like wire money to this Caribbean nation, and people were like, "Is this it?" Like he said that he had like a podcast about it. And he was like, "Yeah, the bank is like, is this real? Are you really want to like do this? Is this a scam?" He's like, "No, not a scam. I'm buying a website domain name. It's okay." But I'm like, man, Matt is so good.
That'd be good.
ma.tt. So I don't have that. But I was literally sitting at my friend Eric's house, and I was like, I gotta come up with a name for this website. And he's like, kind of he wasn't like a stoner dude, but I like to imagine him saying it in like a stoner dude way, even though it didn't happen that way. It makes it funnier in my brain of him being like, what you need to really answer, man, is like, who is Matt? And then you could have a good website. And I was like, who is Matt? Wait, what? So if you can imagine like a Matthew McConaughey, like, who is Matt? Like kind of thing. That's it didn't happen that way, but that's the way I want to like remember it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Amazing. Who
That's hilarious.
is Matt? Amazing. Oh, well, awesome. People will be flooding to your page, I'm sure, if they haven't seen it before. Loads of tips, advice. You're always sharing stuff, and you're killing it on reels and shorts content as well just now.
Oh, the gifs and stuff like that you've been posting up are fucking hilarious.
Your wrapped content too.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, that one did really well. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was hilarious. That one when it was spent 2,000 odd hours searching for music on Music Bed. I was like, I feel seen.
I know.
Yep. Been there, done that. Yep.
Yeah.
That's my life.
Amazing.
Good stuff.
Cool. Well, Matt, thanks for joining us today. I've been Jace.
I've been Danny.
This has been that Wedding Videographer Podcast. And that's been Matt. See you on Thursday.
Yep. See you on Thursday.
Bye.
Bye.
April 1st, 2025 in Glasgow. Summit's happening.
Summit is happening. Head on over to twvp.co.uk/summit to book your spot.
You're not going to want to miss this.
You are not. Go get 'em.